Hello, this is Daniel King reporting on the World Chess Championship, where today in Game 3 the final really came to life. We had a sharp opening, complex middle game and a finish that had us all on the edge of our seats. Let's take a look. Anand had the white pieces and again he opened with d4, and Gelfand repeated his Grunfeld, or looked like he was going to repeat his Grunfeld. Anand came with the first little surprise, f3. So one idea is that if bishop g7 you can play a King's Indian, a Zamish variation. But Gelfand remained true to his Grunfeld preparation and played d5. Now this is a highly complex variation. Let me zip through. Basically white claims the center. Now you notice there's no knight takes c3 here, so the knight has to go backwards. White claims the center, and because the knight has disappeared from the king side here, that gives white the opportunity to try to attack on the king side. So it's vital that black counterattacks in the middle. So he's played e5. Anand actually has experience with this variation. He beat a strong player last year, Mamedyarov. So Gelfand, well, he won't have been too surprised by Anand's choice. Okay, so vital that white tries to hold the center, and that gives him time to attack on the king side. So let's just zip forward a few moves. Black is trying to get counterplay on the queen side, and in the middle we'll get to the first critical moment in a second. Now both players were whipping out their moves until this point, when Anand had his first proper think. So let's try and sum up this position. White has open lines on the king side, the h-file, but it's difficult to try and get his attack going when black has potential counterplay on the c-file. White has a potentially strong pawn on d5 that's kind of holding black's pieces in check. So this is a very double-edged position indeed. Now, one of Anand's seconds, Peter Heine Nielsen, had previously played d6 here, but Anand chose not to follow that. And I think I understand why, because I think black can get actually very good counterplay with e4. It's a rather typical move. We'll see that in the game. So instead of that, Anand chose to put his king far away in the corner, just preempting a check perhaps. And Gelfand played e4 anyway. Now this is a very strong idea, just unleashing the laser beam of this bishop across the board to the king. Now white has to play very carefully here. For example, if white were to play pawn takes pawn, then rook takes knight is already a crushing sacrifice. So let's go back. Anand played very carefully, and after e4, I think, you know, this is a very instinctive move. You just have to match that bishop. You have to neutralize that bishop with your own bishop. So Gelfand continued to try to stir up trouble using the knight on b6. Now if that's taken, then of course the bishop would come here, and that's also rather unpleasant for white. So again, Anand I think played very sensibly. He needs to bring his pieces on the king side into the game, so he played knight to e2, and if black exchanges here, then well that's got to help white develop. So Gelfand kept the tension. Queen a5, good move. And here Anand was very glad, I think, to exchange queens, just to ease some of the pressure on his position. Let's see what happened in the game. We reached an endgame after these exchanges where Anand has an extra pawn. But you'll notice that all of black's pieces are very active and white is still a bit underdeveloped. So although it's an extra pawn, black has good chances to round it up. So Anand played d6 and now rook c5. Now it's possible that Gelfand should have tried knight b6. It looks strange to put the knight back, but there's a tricky idea, which is after knight c3 black can actually play rook d5. Of course the rook cannot be taken because of the checkmate. And black is getting closer to rounding up the d6 pawn. So maybe that was a better idea. This looks very active and very strong, but actually Anand, with precise play, managed to start to make something of his pawn. Rook h4 was a good move. And now rook c2 looks dangerous, but Anand had it all under control. I think by this stage Anand was playing excellently. I think Gelfand really overestimated his chances here. This looks tricky, but in fact Anand's got it all worked out. Here there's a very interesting idea. Gelfand said he looked at this but wasn't satisfied that he could do anything here. It looks dangerous, but actually once the rook comes across and gives the king some room, actually white is doing fine. But still a very difficult position indeed, and I think Anand calculated very well, but he was using up a lot of time, and that had consequences at the end of the game, as we shall see. Okay, so rook d2 to defend the knight. Anand, I think, was very glad to exchange, and after rook e1 it looks like he's mobilizing very well. And now a very good move from Anand. King b1, excellent move. Basically what white wants to do is to throw his rook down the board, but of course he still has to watch out for the checkmate here. So the king comes across to cover. And now black is in some trouble. Gelfand tried bishop f5 check. Anand took and gave a check. The king came up, and this is the critical moment. But at this moment Anand was down to something like 5 minutes to get to move 40, so he had just about a minute to move, something like that. And this is a very, very tricky position when your king is a little bit exposed. This rook is very active, and it looks to me as though Anand chose the wrong move. Let's go to the end of the game and see what happened, and I'll return to this position. So the rook came across, understandably threatening mate, well, not quite mate, but threatening something uncomfortable here, and then taking. So the rook came back, but after rook e2, a good move, Gelfand could make a draw, and the game ended like this. d7, it looks tricky, but actually the two rooks are good enough for a draw. Rook takes a2, and in this position they agree to draw. Okay, the point is this: black threatens mate with rook a1. White can defend by playing king b1, and this position is just a draw. Well, you can give another check. There's nothing to be done. It's just a draw by perpetual, by repetition of moves. But if we go back just a few moves to this position, just bear with me, I'll get the right position. Let me find it, 1 second. Sorry, this position after check, and here. Yeah, now instead of rook c7, I think d7 would have set black a very difficult problem. I understand why Anand didn't go for this. This is fantastically complicated, and short of time, maybe he just couldn't calculate the variations. It is very complex. I think after rook c2, this is a very good move indeed. If you're interested in the detail, I'm actually going to record another clip and go into some fascinating variations that arise from this position. So if you're interested, do click through to the next clip. But to sum up, Anand probably missed a chance to go for a win. I can't say definitely that white had a win, but certainly a good chance to win. So a very complex game indeed. I think Anand will be satisfied that he managed to outplay Gelfand in the endgame, but yeah, maybe he missed a good chance. So all square after 3 games.